CM Punk thinks AEW is an effing joke. Some mass AEW releases, one of which is quite controversial, and my review of WWE RAW. I'm Luke Owen, and this will be a very long WrestleTalk news. Get a cup of tea ready.
Support WrestleTalk!
All of this build for WrestleMania 40 has made people nostalgic for WrestleManias with a multiple of 10, which would include WrestleMania 30, which saw The Shield get over as babyfaces, Undertaker lose his streak to
Mr. Black,
and Bryan Danielson win the WWE Championship, which only happened because CM Punk walked out of the company a couple of months earlier and then got fired on his wedding day. Later that same year, he did an Art of Wrestling podcast where he shot hard on his former employer and scorched all sorts of earth. And now, 10 years later, CM Punk has done a big scorched earth interview where he shot on his former employer that fired him. Punk had been advertised for an interview with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour, where they promised that all bases would be covered in terms of questions, and boy were they. Punk spoke about the Vince McMahon allegations, confirmed Fightful Select's report about talks of his Survivor Series return only coming together in the final days leading up to Survivor Series, and revealed that he nearly returned to WWE prior to joining AEW. On the WWE return, he credits Nick Khan as the reason he came back to WWE, and jokes that he had no non-compete with AEW, and that upon learning that, Khan said, "I wish I knew that," which might have suggested he brought Punk in earlier. He had talked about bringing him back at the Rumble, but Punk suggested Survivor Series. But a large chunk of the 2-hour interview was dedicated to Punk saying what he was legally allowed to say about his time in All Elite Wrestling, which included brawl out, brawl in, his firing, and more. It's interesting to note that Punk said that he didn't sign any NDAs for things he did wrong. He clarified the Jack Perry incident at Collision, where Perry wanted to shoot an angle involving real glass at the show, which would write him off TV for a pre-approved holiday, and said that Perry was cussing people out who told him no about shooting the angle, and told Perry that if he wanted to do that, do it on Wednesdays, i.e. Dynamite, because they don't do things like that on Saturdays. Punk said he clearly took something very business-minded very personally, which is fine because I've done that before too. And it's very much who he's friends with. And S never got squashed, nobody's in charge, and it turned into what it turned into. You'll notice that who he's friends with is a big part of Punk's interview. What it turned into was Perry suplexing Hook onto a windshield of a taxi on the All In pre-show, looking down the camera lens and saying, "It's real glass, cry me a river." After the match, Punk said that Perry told him to do something about it, and according to Punk, "I thought I was doing the responsible thing. I didn't punch anybody, I just choked someone out a little bit." Aha, the old responsible choking someone out. Yeah, we all get that, right? He said there and then he quit AEW, saying he knew the match with Samoa Joe would be his last in the company. He says, "I turned to Tony Khan, I said, this place is a f***ing joke, man. You're a clown. I quit." He talked about the infamous Hangman Page workers' rights promo and said that Adam Page went against everything that they'd agreed to say backstage. He said, "Afterwards I spoke to him and I was like, why did you do that? He thinks I got one of his friends who hadn't been fired. I went to Tony and the lawyer and I said, you need to fix that because if I do, you're not gonna like the way I fix it." And I thought I was being professional by not just murdering him on television. I had never done anything to any of those guys. If they're basing how their attitude is towards me based off some BS a friend told them, then I can't help you. Again, it all comes back to that who you're friends with. And I think we can all guess who that friend is based on his answer to the question, will you ever bury the hatchet with Colt Cabana? He answered, probably not. He came up to me one time at a show. I was at the curtain watching the show, and he came up to me and was like, can we talk so it's not weird between us? And I said, I won't ever talk to you without a lawyer present. He added, he caused all this dumb S for no reason. It all ties into his recounting of the All Out press conference, which led to a backstage fight with the Elite that got all of them suspended and their championship stripped. It was, with the benefit of hindsight, the real beginning of the end for Punk in AEW. Punk said that he lost his temper at that all-out press conference, and it was seeing media there who are friendly with wrestlers that sent him over the edge. He said getting out there and seeing reporters that report S about you like it's fact without ever checking with you, who are openly friends with other wrestlers, it's just effing high school clicky drama BS. He jokingly adds that it's a top 3 CM Punk promo. Still not better than the Steiner math though. But with all things Punk, there is a second side to this story. As Sean Ross Sapp pointed out on Twitter replying to someone, Punk also talks to the dirt sheets a lot, tweeting, "Where do you think all the info from Punk's side was coming from?" After all that, and there is more, Punk said that he doesn't regret his time in AEW. He put over working with Sting and said that his feud with MJF is head and shoulders above anything else he did in the company. He told Helwani that he was looking to move on from this and says that those in AEW also want to move on. But he did have one big dig at AEW's Tony Khan, saying, "He's not a boss, he's a nice guy." He added that he thinks AEW is often too focused on putting on good matches and not drawing money. And if he'd known that philosophy going in, things might have been different. I've not gone into all of the nitty-gritty of what Punk said. This was literally a potted highlight. So I recommend you go and watch the whole 2-hour interview or go to WrestleTalk.com for a detailed breakdown. During the interview, several stars from AEW like Sammy Guevara tweeted in support of the company. And Fightful Select report that one talent told them that it wasn't really connected to anything specifically the Punk said, and that it was more about supporting the company than anything. Fightful also add that some in AEW felt the real issue with the Jack Perry Real Glass story was, ironically, that Punk talked to the press about it and made it a public story when it didn't need to be. According to Fightful Select, one supporter of Punk in AEW told them they hope this is the last of it, and that one day fences are mended. From the WWE side of things, one talent told Sean Ross Sapp they're glad this happened this week, as WrestleMania news will overshadow it and people can move on. Another WWE exec told Fightful Select they didn't believe Punk really wanted to broach the subject of AEW today, but knew it was likely going to come up. But we're not done with news yet, as AEW themselves were perhaps trying to bury their bad news under the CM Punk report, as they released 10 talents from the company. Since their inception in 2019, AEW have let contracts run out and not re-sign them if they don't want to keep hold of them. But this is the first time AEW have released talent from their contracts. Mike Johnson of PW Insider reports AEW is currently evaluating their talent roster and making cuts to benefit both the company and the talents. The talent released are mostly involved with Ring of Honor and are Stu Grayson, Jose the Assistant, Parker Boudreaux, Dasha Gonzalez, Slim J, Gravity, Jura Joel, Anthony Henry of the Workhorsemen, and The Boys. Grayson was originally released by AEW in 2022 but re-signed with the company in 2023 to reunite with the Dark Order. Gravity had been heavily criticized recently for a match on Collision that fell apart, and The Boys were involved in an angle on Ring of Honor that was set to pay off this weekend in a match with Dalton Castle and Johnny TV. Anthony Henry was originally set to be in the AEW Tag Team Tournament with his partner JD Drake, but suffered a broken jaw at a Deadlock Pro match. It's certainly newsworthy and perhaps controversial, considering that Punk also revealed during his Ariel Helwani interview that he paid for his own surgery following his tricep injury at All Out 2022, and that no one spoke to him during that time. Also interesting is Parker Boudreaux, who only tweeted yesterday that he was still with AEW. He has since deleted that tweet. Oof, that was a lot of news, and we'll get into my review of Raw in a bit. But first, let's put over this guy who had an awesome Support WrestleTalk sign at Raw last night that told you wonderful viewers what you already knew. Steiner Math is better than all other promos. Big shout out to the wonderful Alex Queen of the Ring for sending that too. We all know that Steiner Math is...
No!
What do you want?
What do I want? I want to put an end to all of this. You keep saying that the math promo's better than the pipe bomb pro. You know it isn't right, but it is.
No, it's not. It is. It's more iconic.
No.
Everyone agrees. The polls agree with me.
No. You're doing this, and this whole sort of troll-like mentality. That's what's gotten into people, and the bots, and the April Fool's joke.
Deluding yourself.
No, the polls don't mean anything. I've got to take this into my own hands. So, at this Friday's PFK 40 Years of WrestleMania tournament, I'm going to prove once and for all, by winning that tournament, that the pipe bomb is better than the math.
A tournament, you say? Well, what if I had an announcement of my own to make about that tournament?
Witness the new phenomenon to hit wrestling video games. It's WWE 2K24, just in time for WrestleMania 40. See all the giants of PFK engage in an all-out war as WWE 2K24 proudly presents 40 Years of WrestleMania, the tournament. Joining the competition is Luke Owen, D.A.D., who joins Ollie Davis in the Round Robin Tournament of Champions, so make sure you tune in, 3 p.m. British time on April 5th. It's 40 years of WrestleMania, the tournament presented by WWE 2K24, only on Parts Fun Known.
What a great announcement by me. How about, let's not make this about the tournament. This is bigger than the tournament. I challenge you to a match, the semi-main event of the tournament this Friday. We'll even let the fans pick the stipulation for that match. And when I beat you, I will prove to you that math is better than pipe bomb. And I'll do it 1, 2,
Don't you dare.
3 1/3.
Ah, God! What? No, well, before then, you can show your allegiance to the Pipe Bomb Greater Than Math cause by going to WrestleShop.com right now and buying your Pipe Bomb Greater Than Math t-shirt. I need you all to buy it, please. I know, that's what you want, really. That's the true Paul. Why are you laughing?
I take your announcement, then I trumpet with my own announcement. You bring another announcement, and I'm going to trump that announcement as well. Because you can also go to WrestleShop and buy the Steiner Math Better Than Pipe Bomb promo t-shirt. Then support of me. Show it to all your friends. Take it to your local wrestling shows and show everyone that you agree that the Steiner Math promo is better than the Pipe Bomb. And I will prove it this Friday when I beat you in the 40 years of WrestleMania tournament over on Parts Fun Known. Go and subscribe. Well, finally, let's get into this Raw review, aka Seth's Plan B Sucks edition of Monday Night Raw, in about 5 minutes. The show opened with The Rock coming out for a promo where the commentators told us that this weekend will be Rocky's first match in 8 years, so that Eric Rowan match does count. And he recapped the big Cody Rhodes angle from last week. He brought out Roman Reigns, who threatened to leave again if the crowd kept chanting yeet at him, and said that he and Rock have made wrestling cool. Seth Rollins came out through the crowd and wanted a fight for tonight, challenging either The Rock or Roman Reigns to a main event match, which the crowd went bonkers for. So it stands to reason that they booed heavily when it was revealed that Seth would instead face Solo Sikoa in a Bloodline Rules match. And you can tell this wasn't the reaction WWE wanted because they edited the boos out in a recap later on. And why wouldn't this crowd boo? This felt like a 2018-2019 WWE audience who's booing the booking rather than the storyline. Seth teased either The Rock or Roman Reigns wrestling, and instead they got a guy who's done nothing since beating Cena last year. Of course they were going to boo. Thankfully, the crowd were hot for everything else in the segment and most of the wrestling later on in the show. DIY teamed with New Day in a losing effort to Judgment Day in a match that felt like it was missing its 4th or 5th gear. The action was good, but you would expect more given this is an 8-man tag with all of these guys in it. There was some concern over Johnny Gargano getting hurt, but Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful is reporting that he's fine. The bigger bit of news is that commentary confirmed that this Saturday's ladder match is for both sets of titles individually. And the match will continue until both sets of belts are taken down, basically confirming this will be the time that WWE split the belt up. Roman Reigns announced that he will induct Paul Heyman into the WWE Hall of Fame, which is a nice choice, and Sami Zayn went for a big training session with Chad Gable. Gable pushed Sami until he was broken, then wanted to push him more. It was like that episode of Louis Theroux's Weird Weekend, but with less WCW and less vomit. Sami admitted that he was scared of letting people down again at WrestleMania, and Chad said he wants to bring the fire out of Sami Zayn that's been missing since last year. Zayn trained some more, and this time got out of Chad's surprise chokehold, and the two grabbed fists in a movie freeze frame moment. I really liked this, and as I said last week, I just wish this had been given more time and we'd had more of them, because it meant that we didn't get to see much of the results of the training in Sami's match with Bronson Reed. They had a good match, and Sami once again had it set up to win when Gunther dragged Gable out from backstage and laid out Sami Zayn. I guess the Bronson Reed match ended in a no contest. Gunther beat up Zayn some more, but Zayn has no quit in him and got back to his feet, so Gunther laid him out with the title belt. It was an effective angle, and in particular, I loved that Gunther only finally put Sami down via the title belt, something he won't be able to do in their WrestleMania match. I thought that was a nice touch. Jey Uso announced that Lil Wayne is going to WrestleMania, and Ivy Nile and Maxine Dupree beat the way in a 2-minute match that had very little heat. Indy and Candice disagreed and then bumped heads, leading to Maxine rolling up Indy for the win. Drew McIntyre held a funeral for CM Punk's WrestleMania dreams and said that Seth Rollins saw Jared Leto's Joker, aka Worst Joker, and made it his whole personality. Ouch! This was a great promo from Drew, and WWE also announced that Clash at the Castle returns to the UK this year in June, this time from McIntyre's home country, Scotland. One has to imagine that Drew is re-signing with the company at this point. After missing last week's show, Ivar returned to action against Ricochet in a tremendous big versus little match that emphasized how great it is to have Ricochet on your roster. He won when he hit a fall-away slam on Ivar and a 630. Both men will be in the Battle Royal this Friday. Judgment Day had an awkward hangout with Legado del Fantasma, as Dominic Mysterio had that role where you try to introduce your two sets of friends together for a party, but neither really know or get on with each other. I got flashbacks to my own 23rd birthday, which was awfully awkward. And they set up Andrade versus Ricochet for next week, where if Andrade wins, he'll join Judgment Day. I think Andrade has other plans. Becky Lynch cut a promo on Rhea Ripley, and the two had another brawl ahead of WrestleMania, and Damage Control beat Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and Tegan Nox to build them up ahead of their trios match at Mania. The match did build to the team kick stuff at the end, but commentary didn't make much of it, and Kairi Sane hit the insane elbow for the win. And the main event saw Seth Rollins take on Solo Sikoa in a Bloodlines Rules match. So, what is Bloodline Rules? Will it be The Rock on commentary? Will it be Jimmy as the timekeeper? Will Paul Heyman be the referee? Nope, it's just a standard DQ match with tables and chairs. Fair enough. Seth had the match won, but Jimmy Uso ran down for the save. Jay came out to attack Jimmy, and both got chumpatized by the much bigger star in The Rock. I guess the match ended in a no contest. But, as Seth told Kathy Kelly before the match, he always has a plan B. And his plan B wasn't going to turn on Roman Reigns again. Giggity. It was to bring out Cody Rhodes, who wasn't even supposed to be there today because he wasn't medically cleared. They beat up The Rock for a bit, but Roman Reigns attacked Cody, and he and The Rock whipped them both like government mules to close out the show. So Seth's plan B was to get beaten up by the Bloodline. Great plan, Seth. It was a good closing angle, but last week set an impossibly high bar to meet. It was a good show, but not a super hot go-home show considering the star power. So this week's Raw is 4 out of 5. Now to whet your appetite for this Friday's parts fun known WWE 2K24 WrestleMania tournament, check out the latest episode of the Monday Night War, where we play My GM mode.